Hi everyone, Louise here with my 144 topics, and today I'm talking about the food industry. So what I'm talking about when it comes to the food industry is how our food industry has changed. And once upon a time we were eating a lot healthier foods. We were having, whole foods, whole cooked foods. We were making our own sauces and gravies and stews and whatever it is that we were eating. And then that bit pretty much changed. So the change time for that was really about the 1920s, where there was two Kellogg's brothers. We all know Mr. Kellogg's. Basically, there were two brothers. One Kellogg's guy was doing sanitariums and running healthy eating, and it was him who created the cornflakes, and the cornflakes were crushed, and he was feeding them to his clientele. And then his brother came along and said, "Haha, I can see that thing and I can do something with that." And basically what happened is that he started sugarcoating those, and really that started creating instant snack food, instant sugary snack food, because all of a sudden we weren't a slave, the wife or the person wasn't a slave to the kitchen having to make all these foods. We actually had a lot of instant foods. And it was really from then the industry started realizing, that people wanted fast food, they wanted quick food. McDonald's came along, and then, with that, they were timing how long it was taking to create the food. They wanted to know how quickly the food could be made, and the aim was to get that food out of the door as quickly as possible. But with this quick food, what came was the fact that we started losing the value of the food. We started losing the nutritional value of the food. We started to lose the goodness and the wholesomeness of the food, and we lost that to speed. So we lost that to instant food and to junk food. So it is deemed now that 40% of what we eat is snack food now. We've really gone away from eating, sitting down, having wholesome meals, and eating a lot more snack food. So we'll actually skip a meal and just have some snack food. And also fast food. So, takeaways and fast food and instant food has changed. If you go to quite a few aisles in the supermarket, there's packets of food, instant food, just add water or whatever it is, whap it in the machine or take it out of the tin, and then you've got instant food. So we've become very lazy when it comes to what we're eating and preparing and making food. So the cost of that is very much at play. So when we've got, say, 1,000 calories of junk food, it can cost us a few dollars. But when you've got 1,000 calories of healthy eating food, that can end up costing us, 10 times that. So of course we tend to move away from food that is fast. We've moved away from food that's slow, that's healthy, that's more expensive, and gone for the cheap rubbish, basically, which is quite often toxic waste of some shape or form. So, the food industry, do they really care about our health? Are they really concerned about our health? We've got children that are unhealthier than what we are. We've got diseases that are around, that have been around. You've got increases in cancers, heart disease, obesity, diabetes, all those sort of foods that have come around when these industries have come around and actually started giving us this fast food, this processed food. So possibly some of the worst foods that you can eat is mac cheese or macaroni cheese, or these foods that are very much processed where you just put them into the microwave, and even people manufacturing these foods, so people manufacturing these processed cheeses get very sick in the manufacturing process. I'm not going to focus too much on additives. I'm actually going to do that next time round. But just knowing that there's a lot of toxins in our food now, when we look at margarine versus butter, it's 3 times the cost, it's harder to use. Of course, that's losing us time. So we get so concerned about the time factor that we're really stopping looking at what's really important is our health and our well-being. And I really get it, and I do understand. Like, I've been in a situation where I've had children, or I've been a student, and not much money's coming in. But when you start looking at the long-term implications to health and well-being, there is no question for that, because it might be cheap on that day, but the long-term implications to the cost of our health can be huge. It can be huge. If we've got a family member who's sick and not doing very well, then that's not a very good thing. So, I've got friends as well who have worked in slaughterhouses where they, when they're slaughtering the animals, pigs it was, and cattle, he went in there, and when he came out, he would never eat sausage again, never eat polony again. You know, when margarine comes out, it's a grey colour. They pump it full of colouring to make us eat it. Dogs won't eat it, flies don't eat it, even cockroaches don't eat it. So why are we eating it? It was deemed that the margarine was introduced to fatten up turkeys for Christmas, but the turkeys kept dying, so we got it. So we've got 1,000% more additives since, you know, the Second World War. And even what's in our food is, you know, there's cockroach poo in food, there's maggots, there's foreign matter, there's dead flies, even cigarette butts. So when we talk about things like chickens and animals, probably pork and chickens are the biggest things here in Australia. In other countries it would be very different. You know, foods are now, the animals are pumped with hormones, they're pumped with antibiotics. And the reason they do that is to increase the body weight. So they want to increase the body weight fast. So, you know, just the adding of those things will increase body weight by 2% a week. So we're actually growing these animals very, very fast. So when we look at chickens, you know, chickens could take 20, 24 weeks, whatever, to be at a maturity rate for us to be eating them. In America, it takes 5 weeks. In Australia, it takes 6 weeks. So if those animals aren't slaughtered after that 6-week period, what tends to happen is that they can have organ collapse and their legs can actually break because they can't actually sustain the amount of weight that they're carrying because they're being pumped with so much muck. Great news, isn't it? So, you know, we're very much blinded by packaging. You know, the food industry gives us the Heart Tick Foundation, gives us the tick, or foods labelled as natural, blah, blah, blah. So don't be fooled by that stuff, you know, really don't be fooled by that. And the idea really is going to be starting to find ways to start embracing food. So I've just got some examples here. A milkshake can contain something like 50 chemicals in it. Orange juice can sometimes be 18-month-old oranges that don't get sold. They get reconstituted, stored in vats, and then basically get used again. Sliced cheese is like 51% cheese, and the rest of it is just preservatives. Fish, things like fish often get dyed, they're farmed, again they're pumped full of hormones, and in growing them in those areas it actually kills off the other fish and the happier floating fish that's going around. So the food industry has a lot of power. They spend a lot of money researching chemical combinations that we become very addicted to. So, you know, when you buy your pizza shapes or when you buy your chips, you know, and then even taking a healthy food like rice crackers and suddenly lacing it full of preservatives and things that make people addictive. They want you to be addictive because then you're going to keep buying. So they really do not have your best interests at heart. So I was just going to talk about sugar. You know, the sugar industry is a big thing. In the 1957, there was a guy called John Yudkin who was starting to say, look, you know, this isn't right. Sugar is actually not a good thing. And then in 1972, we've got Robert Lustig, who's got you'll find it on YouTube, The Bitter Truth, talking about that. But that sort of got pushed aside because the sugar industry has a lot of money and they can say, no, it's not us, and they can deflect things and make things not be as they are. And so, you know, instead the blame got put onto sugar, got put onto fat and salt. So I've been doing the sugar-free thing for a while and it's given me a lot of clarity in my mind, and I've also been using fat as a better source of energy as opposed to sugar, which is a fast amount of energy that it dies in the arse very fast, whereas fat is more sustaining, gives us a greater sense of fullness inside. So, you know, please don't be fooled by what that is. So what can you do? What you can do is not support that. You know, it's very much consumer driven. Start being mindful about what you're eating. Start being mindful about reading labels. It's really important to start reading labels and to see what's on there. It is consumer choice. Check out things on YouTube. You know, watch The Bitter Truth. That sugar movie, you know, watch Supermarket Deceptions and just see how we are being very much deceived with advertising and by the food industry. The more processed food we eat, like processed food, processed people, you know, when we die, our bodies don't decompose because we're so full of muck. And we're becoming very brainwashed by the food that we're eating because it's not actually making us feel invigorated, it's not making us feel alive, and it's not making us feel great. So aim to go for slow food. So slow is seasonal, L is local food, O is organic, and W is whole foods. So start going for those type of foods. Start being mindful what you're eating. Get away from the processed foods. Go back to the old days. Start making your own soups. Start making your own sauces. Start making your own dishes, as opposed to buying something processed that you're just chucking in there. And you know, there is a time when we need to be doing that, and that is fine, but there are healthier options of junk food. And if you can, just try and substitute something healthier. So, you know, substitute your butter for margarine, substitute some fresher juices. You know, I don't want to really mention brands or whatever, but I have already. But, you know, go for healthier juices as opposed to just the cheaper stuff. So remember, even though this processed food is giving us cheaper food, it's not actually giving us quality food. So really start to aim for going more quality food. Don't get fooled by the packaging. As I said, read labels, start to be aware of what's going on there. And don't believe everything that the food industry tells you, because they do not have your best interests at heart. There's a big difference between having food that's grown in a very loving environment with happy people. And when I was younger, you know, my youngest was like 4, and he used to say, "Is that organic?" Because they get used to the feeling, the vibration of the food. So honour yourself. Your body is the most precious gift that you've got, and you just get one this time around. So look after it, be mindful, start looking at other ways, go to farmers markets, start having more you know, as much fruit and veg as you can, and getting away from food which has got pictures of food on it, because it's not often real food, and the other, you know, it's just often a combination of complex chemicals that are mixed together with devitalized, demineralized food that's gone through huge processing processes to make food fast and cheap. So go slow as much as you can. And apart from that, if you've got any questions about anything like this, let me know. Happy to help you with that transition into food. Otherwise, you stay healthy and you stay happy, and I will speak to you next time. Take care.